Welcome back to Game Nights. I am Sir Shadrick of Versity, and I want to talk about what I feel is one of the best examples of the problem that we are seeing with games in the modern day. What am I talking about? I'm talking about disingenuous, low-quality, low-effort cash grabs that are just there. They throw, the idea of the consumer, the loyal fan, out the window because they just want to almost exploit them to get money, essentially. And unfortunately, one of the best examples of this annoying thing is Soulcalibur VI. Now, I've been a fan of the Soulcalibur franchise for ages. I remember when I first saw it, okay? Previous to that, the fighting games were always just people fighting, and I remember I was at my local bowling alley, and they had a small arcade there, and I walked into it, and I saw this fighting game, and instead of fighting with fists, they were fighting with swords. Now, if you know anything about me, that's the type of thing that grabs my interest. This was like amazing, a fighting game with swords. I was like, why hasn't anyone done this before then? About time. And so since then, I basically loved the Soulcalibur franchise. And in fact, that first game actually wasn't a Soulcalibur, it was Soul Edge, one of the really old ones. Now, there have been better and worse iterations in the Soulcalibur series, and you'd like to think, you'd hope, that each new one brings new stuff to the actual game. And usually, the Soulcalibur series did. The sequel would bring in a new character. I was like, oh, you got a new character, new weapon set, and everything like that. And there might be a new single-player story to enjoy. And then they add additional features. Eventually, they added in character creation so you could make your own character. Like that was so awesome. And each new sequel, not only did you get the character that was added in the last one, so it kept the content it gave you in the last, installment of the series, then it would give you more. They were always adding something to it until recently. And this is where we come to Soulcalibur VI. Now, Soulcalibur VI, the gameplay's fun, and the character creation in it is probably It's almost a direct copy of the previous one, and the previous one was great. So you can't really praise the character creation too much, but the character creation in Soulcalibur V was great off the bat, and so, of course, Soulcalibur VI character creation would be great as well, you would assume. But then there's everything else, and this is where we come to the big problem. For the first time in the series, not only did they not give you all the things that they had given before, all the characters and things like that, they actively withheld content in the release of Soulcalibur VI and made you pay for the stuff that you got for free in the previous installments as DLC. Like, think about that. They purposefully made a version of the game of lower quality, they withheld content, and then made you pay for it, and these are things that came standard in the game in previous versions. Unbelievably lazy and cheap. And that's why I say this is a just despicable, soulless, no pun intended there, cash grab to just cash in on the series. We got the series, people like it, they like fighting, and even heaps of the assets in Soulcalibur VI are directly copied over from Soulcalibur V. It's like the only effort they did was they added Geralt, the new character you can play. And again, new character is fun, but then there are staple characters. In some instances, they were introduced as new characters, but then they became staple characters, like Hilda, like Amy, Tira, Cassandra, Huang, Setsuka. These are characters that were just part of the series previous, not, every iteration, but they became, and you actually have to pay for them now. And this is just one glaring point of reference about how lazy they were in Soulcalibur VI. But there's more, okay? If you have a look at the single-player story mode campaign, it is the most lazy, cheap piece of junk, boring as anything, okay? I mean, one of the best single-player missions that they had in the Soulcalibur series, Chronicles of the Sword in Soulcalibur III, had this awesome kind of open-world map where you had your character moving around, and you could choose where you're going to, and there were random encounters, and then story events, and things like that. And it was actually a really interesting, really fun, engaging story mode. In this one, it is such low-effort garbage where they couldn't even be bothered with voice recording or anything like that. It's just written text that appears, and they don't bother with animations or any beginning story. It's just a 2D picture of a character that appears with text, and it's always the same picture. That's how insanely low effort it is, and the story is just some generic, boring garbage where, oh, you're going to this thing, you're after this thing, you run into someone, they fight, you run into someone, they fight, you run into someone, they fight. and it's amazing how low effort it is, and especially when you compare it to what Soulcalibur 3 had, it's night and day. So we have reused assets, we have content that you usually got in a normal Soulcalibur release that was actively withheld to make you pay for it further on, and then you have incredibly low effort 2D, just simple text story mode things that there's barely any content there to enjoy. The only way you can get long-term enjoyment or any play out of Soulcalibur is by fighting people, perhaps online or, you know, just with your mates and stuff like that. But for single player, it's got nothing, or what I feel amounts to nothing because of how dull and boring it is. And seriously, compare this to other fighting games where you look at, say, Injustice, which has kind of animated cutscenes and an ongoing story in the fighting and things like that, compared to the low-tier garbage you get in Soulcalibur 6. It's unbelievable. And so I don't know what's happened with the developers. They just lost the plot. They want to, you know, because the sad thing is I think they are making bank on it. And that's the worst part about this. I bought Soulcalibur 6 because I was a fan of the franchise and everything like that. And you buy the season pass because, okay, because sometimes what if the DLC was actually adding content on top, like the original formula where the new game came out and you got everything you got in the previous installment, and then there was new kind of content. And that's when they might be able to justify paying for brand new characters and special novelty characters like 2B, like, well, Grok kind of came with a release, I think, but then you have that guy. All right, so yeah, totally. I reckon you could justify paid DLC for something that's actually adding to the series that wasn't there before. But seriously, holding back content that you already had in previous games, repurposing assets and making people pay for it. Like, seriously, there are like character creation assets that are just completely lifted out of the previous game, and they're making you pay for it in this installment. It is so disingenuous, it is so lazy, so low effort, such a blatant cash grab that, I do not recommend it. And by the way, even though I've bought Soulcalibur 6, you know, it took me a couple of hours to get just insanely bored with it. And the only type of additional enjoyment I get is the character creation, because you can do some pretty fun things with character creation. Like, and again, this is just a copy of the previous character creation, by the way, but the idea that you can add in textures and images, maps, and stuff on top of the things to give them a different look. Like, do you see the guy I made here? Does he look somewhat similar to me? And I was able to get the brigandine, you know, look by adding a polka dot texture and then changing the colors and stuff. So the character creation is fun. But the problem is, after you make this really awesome character, you want to do something with it. You want to enjoy, you know, engaging with him on a long kind of story, and you want to see this character interact with other characters and have possible different outcomes and stuff. That's why a really engaging kind of story mode, like they had in Soulcalibur 3, is actually a huge benefit to a fighting game. And it seems like the only thing that they're really trying to sell Soulcalibur 6 on, or the long-term play, is the multiplayer aspect. But no, a single-player campaign is really important too, because it helps you keep, like, for people who don't enjoy multiplayer as much, okay, it keeps you, like, I'm not going to be buying Soulcalibur 7. Soulcalibur 6 is absolute garbage. I would need, like, a massive recommendation to show that I haven't done all this stupid stuff from someone I trust to even have a look at Soulcalibur 7 if they ever make one. The thing that keeps me sticking around is having some actual meaty gameplay I can enjoy, especially with these awesome characters that I can make, and then interject them in the story and things like that. And Soulcalibur 6 has nothing like that at all. And so literally sometimes I just hop on there to make a character, and then I got nothing to, it's a soulless kind of endeavor, but I love character creation so much, and it's got such a detailed one, but then I got nothing to do. So yes, Soulcalibur 6 is a soulless version that does not nearly have the caliber that previous iterations had. But I'm not the only one who's been disappointed with this amongst the game nights. In fact, Sir Ben has some things to share as well on how despicable and garbage tier the treatment of Soulcalibur 6 has been.
Hey everyone, Sir Ben here. I've also been a fan of the Soulcalibur series for a very long time. It's actually why I invested money in Soulcalibur 6. I heard that it was going to be a reiteration of Soulcaliburs 1 and 2, which is where I was introduced to the game. All my favourite characters are from those games, and so I was jumping straight back into a blast from the past. I was ecstatic. And then I bought the game, I opened the game, I started playing the game, and I realised there was something missing. Necrid. My absolute most favourite character. I mean, look at the guy. He is beautiful. I mean, the spikes on his arm and the glowy thing on his chest, and He looked menacing and horrible and just amazing. And the way he played was just incredible. I absolutely loved being able to be this hulking mass of a thing, which, I mean, I wasn't then, but I am now. And I could just pull weapons out of thin air. And they took that. I mean, yes, sure, okay, they have the main antagonist in the game. I can't remember his name for the life of me, who can, you know, make weapons appear and do all those sorts of things. But Necrid could too. And he did it so much better. I was so looking forward to having him back in the game, and I was so looking forward to just reliving my childhood by using him to just tear others to shreds. And I can't.
I've got something I'd like to say.
Hi, I'm Oz, and when I heard about this, yeah, I was really, really upset and angry too. I haven't played any of the games. I'm just really upset and angry.
So clearly, the disappointment and low quality of Soulcalibur VI is having a true detrimental effect on not only its fan base, but people outside of the fan base. It is a travesty, an abomination in the series. Don't buy it. It's absolute garbage, and I'm going to downvote it. Hey, I've never done a Steam review. I can do a Steam review downvote. That's what they're meant for.